Welcome back to a normal week of drawing. This is day 2. So, once again with the disclaimer that I found out that I drew way too much during this time, and now I know that I need to limit that and kind of calm down. So, yep, that being said, I continued on with my normal week, and I started off again with a free sketch, which I try to do every single day. I try to free sketch and figure draw because I find that it kind of warms up my hand, it helps me, and gets my brain going. So I started off, I was doing this figure and it was turning out okay, but I ended up putting the head really low, and that just kind of happens when I start with the head, which I try not to do, but I do occasionally just do it. I mean, I'll put a placeholder sometimes to begin with, just to kind of decide how the rest of the body is going to follow the rhythm down. But in this case, I screwed up. That's the short version of the story. And sometimes when I start these poses, especially when they're at this size, I try to do what I'm doing right here, which is create a small thumbnail and then go into the bigger drawing. But now the thumbnail is just going to serve the purpose of kind of showing myself where I went wrong and how much better the pose could have been, and that I could draw it better, which is sometimes just kind of confidence building, and sometimes it does show me that I can fix it and I know where I went wrong, because if I don't, I will go and try to search out a pose, or I will go back to basics and I will work from just basic shapes. So that's usually how I try to fix it, as stated. This day, my main focus was just to calm down, chill out, work a little bit slower. I wanted to give myself time to think. I didn't want to worry as much about the camera. I mean, you can't completely erase that from your mind, but I just thought that the day before was really hard. It felt like a loss. I was very upset. I was embarrassed to show what I'd done. And that does just happen. Sometimes we have good days, we have bad days. And that's okay. They each serve their purpose, because I think drawing every day can teach you a lesson. And I don't necessarily mean to advocate drawing every day. I think drawing nearly every day or when you can is fine. But for me, as someone who's very forgetful, I am in my head a lot. I'm just that type of person. I think that drawing every day helps me, even if it's just a little bit. It's a sketch on a page, it's a post-it note at my desk, it's whatever. I think it helps me remember the things that I've learned, number one, and it teaches me lessons about myself, the limits that I have that I've placed on me that may not even be true limits, things I need to work through, mentally, emotionally, whatever. And it keeps me learning. It keeps my mind active. It makes me excited to draw again. I see something that I did wrong, and even if I ruminate over it all day, sometimes when I come back, it's taught me where I went wrong and how I can do better, and I sit down and I can draw a better picture just because it was in my head all day. I was just thinking about it. I found that even when I was working a lot in, 2020 or 2021, I was working really long days. I'm talking, 10, 11 hours of being outside all day. And the whole time, because we had to drive between places now and then, I was looking at trees and I was thinking about how I draw them and what it looked like to paint them and stuff like that, or making up stories, whatever. Which, gets me thinking about posing, how I would compose a scene, whatever. Which I'm not great at, and I'm not saying that I am, but just the fact that it's in my head and I'm constantly thinking about it gives me an idea of how I would go at something from a different angle, what to do to improve, even gives me some direction sometimes. I don't know what it is, but sometimes my brain does not think about the things that I could do to solve small problems. Oh, if I want to get better at digital painting, yes, I could paint digitally. I could study from life digitally, but I could also paint. And I think that I learn a lot from regular painting and seeing things in real life. I do learn a lot from photographs. They're nice, they're still, the light stays constant. But sometimes I just need to go to a different medium. I need to go to a different place. I need to try something different. I need to get my brain working and seeing things from a different angle. And yeah, I think that it helps. So that's why I try to do these kinds of things every day. My free sketching will sometimes involve shapes, sometimes I'll try to draw objects, random things like that. Even the studies. So most of this week I did do just figure drawing, and I said in the last video that I had wanted to try to do some perspective and stuff, and I do try to do that sometimes too, or even just put a grid on what I've drawn to see if I can match the perspective that it's in. So yeah, I do a lot more than just figures. I try to do a lot more than just figures because they are just a jumping off point. They are difficult. They're very, very difficult. And when you try to draw them in scenes, you will meet a whole new monster. But I do also try to practice other things since my main focus in my own mind is comics, and it has been for years. And I would really like to improve. And I know that the best way to do that is to just draw comics. But I also know that drawing specific things individually to figure out how they work and then trying to fit them into a page generally turns out better. You'll get better results. In my case, I really don't mean to speak for anybody else. Whenever I'm talking about me. So yeah, decided I'd do a little face here. Hadn't done a lot of them. I will catch myself doing that where I'm doing little poses and things and no one has anything aside from some rough skeletal structure or just some shapes and crosshairs. And then I'm like, do I even remember how to draw a face? Especially if I haven't been working in my sketchbook much, or if I've been drawing a lot of objects and animals for our business, which is mostly what I end up drawing. Hence the shells, and I showed you the pins in my sketchbook video that we made. I'm really excited about those still. And we've got some more coming in. I mentioned that too, and they are fat birds, and I'm just stoked to show people those because they're actually kind of cute. They took me way too long. Again, that was another thing that this week taught me, was my painting has become so slow, and I really need to speed that up so that I can get more done in less time so that I'm not drawing for 40 years. And again, I want to iterate that I do stop, I take breaks every single hour. I have a Fitbit. I get my 10,000 steps. I do that every single day, and I have for years. I do stretches. I have problems with my joints in my back and stuff, so I work on that, and I do not have carpal tunnel. I was checked last year, so as surprising as that was, I do not have carpal tunnel. Oh man, my next technical difficulty. I forgot to click record. I was so disappointed. But if I step away from my camera, I pretty much have to leave it recording, or I will not remember to click record again. I don't know why, it's just not in my head, especially if I'm at home. I'm just talking to people and thinking about other things I need to get done, like chores, do the dishwasher, whatever, even though I'm still not even the best in the house at remembering those things. I have got a one-track mind sometimes, for sure, living in my fantasy world. But yeah, when I sit down, recording is the last thing on my mind. You can tell I just derailed and it was very easy. I almost didn't climb back on that train. I find these, so most of these are from Pinterest, by the way. I have a pose ref board, but I have a decent memory when it comes to things that I've seen or things that I've heard. So I will remember what I've put in there and what I've drawn from, and I'll get annoyed and I don't want to see the same thing a billion times. So sometimes I ignore my board completely and I'm just rolling through the main page and finding these ones that look interesting to me. I think I said that in the last one, just ones that look like characters and stuff. So that's what I was doing this day, and that's why you see this like really cool dark circus looking character. I love that stuff. I don't know why, but that dark circusy, there's a word for it that I have forgotten currently. I love it. It's really good. It's got something. I have a story that has a character that is called Bizarre, and yeah, he's got that aesthetic. He's very dangerous, a trippy guy. So every single time I see those poses and they look uncanny, kind of creepy. Like, is this person gonna chase me down the street? That kind of vibe. Yeah, I draw it. This one here is an old guy on a motorcycle. I really liked that picture, and I really wanted to draw the motorcycle. I didn't really leave myself space for any of the important parts. I really like to draw vehicles and things. My older brother, he's about 9 years older than me, he used to have this How to Draw Cars book when I was a kid, and I was like, oh yeah, he's gonna think I'm so cool if I can draw cars. So I'd practice from that book, I would copy it, I would trace over it, and then I'd try to draw it myself just to see what I'd learned from it, which is kind of where all that started. And then I started drawing my mom's car. So, yeah. That's kind of where that came from. And it's really funny, actually, that I don't draw more vehicles because I really like them. I actually like to draw them. I follow tons of vintage car stuff. And, like, I'm not an expert or anything, but I can change oil and tires. So, yeah, I really like it. I really like to draw motorcycles. Which is kind of funny because I cannot ride motorcycles. I could for a while. I used to ride dirt bikes a little bit. Then I got into a little wreck on my bicycle and got a bunch of stitches and a bunch of shots. And after that, I had a horrible anxiety towards riding motorized two-wheeled things. Love four-wheelers and stuff, though. That previous pose that I was working on with the guy leaning back and the hand on his face was so satisfying. The way that the shape in the underdrawing looked, like the kind of the trunk going into the rib cage. Ooh, baby, that looked great to me. It looked so nice in the reference. I really liked that. So whenever I was drawing it, I was thinking, oh yeah, I want to use this shape. I want it to feed in right here. I wasn't even putting the edges of the rib cage on, just kind of like up against the sternum. Oh, I liked it. I liked it so much. There's just little things like that they make me so happy. They just feel right. They look good. When you can get them looking the way that you're imagining them when you're looking at the picture, it feels awesome. Like I am a god, bro. Obviously not, but it's a pretty good feeling. I was trying to do a few more dynamic poses because I wanted to challenge myself as well as keep myself calm. I wanted to do things that made me embarrassed or scared. So I was trying to break down the shapes like I usually do when I did this pose. And I feel like it turned out better than a lot of the ones from the day before, which wasn't hard. Frustrated sigh. But again, it made me chill out a little bit. Yep, I really like poses like this. Actually, whenever I start doing poses, these are what I aim for. I want to do a lot of dynamic movement, things that are difficult, things that make me stop thinking as much about anatomy until I'm going back over the top. I want to break things down with wires. I want to break things down with shapes. I want to see how they fit into each other, because that's the kind of stuff that gets me thinking. And then when I try to draw poses from my own head, I can use that knowledge, and it's a little bit easier to rely on than being like, this muscle overlaps this muscle. Here in the wild, blah, blah, blah. So I think that anatomy is super important. Don't get me wrong. It's very good, and you should definitely learn it, and drawing from life will help you. But I also think learning the basic shapes, again, this is me talking about my experience, learning the basic shapes and learning how to break things down in the simplest way and fit things into each other and all that fun stuff, I think it does so much for you. And then when you try to fit the anatomy over the top and you're learning the anatomy, it kind of comes easier. It did for me anyhow, once again. And so now I fall back into that when I'm noticing issues structurally, when I'm having problems with my gestures. I go back to those basic shapes, and they help me a lot. Because the limbs you can draw so simply, they can be wires, and in fact, a lot of the body can be broken down into just like a circle or whatever. Here he switched off to the comic. I think this is the last day I do it, which is such a friggin' shame. Because I just love Grend. I love him so much. When we started the comic, way back in I think 2020, right after coming off of our first one, which was a short comic called Vinya the Voice of Trees, I started designing this little dude. He's the youngest of the trio, the main cast, and he's so timid and shy and scared, and I kind of resonated with that because I was a bit of a scaredy cat as a kid. And he's so interesting. The way my sister wrote him is interesting because you feel like this kid's got nothing to hide. Oh my god, he's so annoying. He's a scaredy cat. Oh, he ran away, whatever. And not only did I kind of fall in love with the design that I gave him, he's so round and he's so soft, and I think it kind of works well with him being a scaredy cat. Obviously, I was trying to learn, I guess, a lot about character design just to make them work. And he has, again, I don't want to spoil anything, but he has some secrets that you wouldn't expect. I think they all kind of have their own secret, as we all do, even in friendships. We've all got something. But he's got an edge to him that you don't expect. He's more of an important player than you ever imagined. And I really like that. I like the double edge. In fact, when my sister started writing the second part of the comic, which, man, I wish we could get there, they're older. They're older, and he's grown up a lot, and I've drawn it occasionally trying to kind of nail the character that I want him to become. This difference in personality while still holding on to the integrity of the character, holding on to who he is as a person, kind of at his core. And it makes me so... It's so funny, but it makes me proud. It makes me proud of him. I think all of the characters have a lot of growing up that they do over time. They have to learn some hard lessons that play against who they are. And I kind of wish that I had done a better job showing that, and I hadn't self-sabotaged so hard in the beginning, because the story was really important to me. I think she did a really good job, my sister, in writing it out and having these characters and the twists and turns along the way. A lot of the side characters and things like that, I really like them. I really dig Truesby. Big ass man. He's got 6 fingers on one hand, and that's supposed to be really important. And I just really, I really enjoyed it. I really enjoy working on it, and I'm a little annoyed that I only went so many days on here before I started kind of weighing myself down with the guilt of needing to get those shells finished, when at the end of the day I would have finished them and it probably would have taken the same amount of time. So, and I probably would have learned a little bit more from painting on the comic that I could have applied to those shells, and it would have been so much faster and a better experience. But you live and you learn, and I'm still figuring things out despite my oldness. So, yeah, we will grow. We will rebuild our skills. So, yeah, I do hope that you guys are getting something out of these. I'm gonna post them throughout the week so we're not milking it like crazy, and yeah. I really wanted these to all be just one video, and there's just way too much footage. I put it on 128 gigabyte SD cards, and I almost filled up 3 of them, and that's, 5 hours of footage each going through HD, so... And that's obviously not counting what I took on my computer and the time lapses from Procreate. So here are the shells again, and this day I was determined to get some flatting done and get some painting done. I'm really, really bad about putting this stuff off. The thought of making a finished thing gives me an insane amount of anxiety, makes me scared that I'm gonna make it bad, it's gonna turn out awful. And a lot of the stuff that I do for the business, I think of as doing for my sister, and I want things to look nice and perfect. So it's difficult, but we get through it. And I'm glad that I did. I think they turned out pretty. You'll see at the end of the week. We do finish it at the end of the week, the last day. Oh, right here you can barely see till I get into the star a little bit more because I'm painting such small details. I'm zoomed in so far. I do hope you can kind of let me know what your favorite thing is, if there is something in particular that you learned or liked even just about the video. Here are the finished pictures. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. Have a good day or night, and bye.